Hi everyone! Welcome to Soup Top Recipes. Today we are making a popular street food that is originally from Taiwan, Shou Zhua Bing. I'm so excited about this. I remember it got really popular when I was in college in Guangzhou. The street vendors, they make it in front of you and it's just addictively delicious that I eat it almost every week. Whenever I eat it, I also get one for my roommate. Let's get started. What makes Shou Zhua Bing special is the wrapper. This is like a pan-fried bread. Smells amazing and the taste is flavorful. But it's time-consuming and not easy to make. I will share some tips on making a big batch at one time and save them for later. Once you have the flatbread ready, everything else can be done within 10 minutes. This is 200 grams of room temperature water. Add half teaspoon of salt. Stir to dissolve. In a KitchenAid mixing bowl, add 350 grams of high protein flour and pour in the salt solution in batches. In China, this recipe normally asks for all-purpose flour, but I have tried many brands of all-purpose flour in USA. They are hard to reach a smooth and elastic result, which is quite important in this recipe. I can't tell you the science behind it, but I will suggest you use bread flour or noodle flour. These are the brands that I have tried and they worked pretty well. I'm using a stand mixer to do the kneading. Put it on medium speed for a few minutes. You can do this by hand, but this dough is going to be very moist, so it's quite annoying to work with your hands. Also, you can't sprinkle more flour to prevent the stickiness, because it will ruin the water-flour ratio. In a few minutes, all the flour is packed together, then you can add a big drizzle of vegetable oil. Keep using medium speed and let it run for another 10 minutes. All the oil should be absorbed. The dough should be soft and smooth. This dough has an interesting consistency that is between sticky and non-sticky. Take it out, you will see that it sticks to your hand pretty bad. Don't try to add flour to it, just knead it on the working surface for 20 to 30 seconds. It will magically become smooth and non-stick. That is the texture that we are looking for. The amount that I gave is enough to make 6 flatbreads. So, we will divide it into 6 even pieces. Don't need to scale it, just eyeball it. Then roll each piece into a round smooth ball. Add a few tablespoons of vegetable oil to the plate. Place the dough in it and use the oil to coat the surface. Coating oil is not only to prevent them from drying, but also it will make the dough ultra elastic. Later on, you can stretch the dough into paper-thin sheets. I will show you how to do that, but now you must not be greedy with the oil amount. I have seen some recipes to soak the dough pieces in a big bowl of oil. I don't want to do that because I have to think of what to do with the leftover oil after the soaking. So, I figured out that if you cover the dough with a plastic wrap and push out all the air, it will do the same job just like how you soak them in oil. I have used this technique in my biang biang noodle recipe. You can check that video out. We will let them sit at room temperature for at least 2 hours. You can also leave it in the fridge overnight, but you do need to take them out of the fridge 1 hour before you start stretching them, so they can get back to room temperature. While waiting, we have plenty of time to make the Yousu, 1 teaspoon of 5 spice powder. This is what I'm using. You should be able to get this easily in your local Asian groceries. I will also put the Amazon link in the description. Add 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and pour in 4 tablespoons of hot oil. Stir to mix well. Make sure there are no lumps. Set it aside. 2 hours later, the dough had enough rest. There will be a little extra oil on the plate. You can use that to oil the working surface. Take 1 piece of the dough, flatten it by your hand first, then stretch it as thin as you can. You will be amazed by its ductility. This is also why I highlight to use bread flour for this recipe, because all-purpose flour in USA won't work the same. It just doesn't have the same ductility. Other countries might be different. I have tried the all-purpose flour in Ecuador. It worked perfectly. You see how thin this is? It's like paper. You can see your fingers through the sheet. Next, we will apply a thin layer of Yousu on the sheet. You can also use a brush. Yousu is what creates the flaky layers and gives the bread an amazing texture. Sprinkle a little bit finely diced scallion to give a nice aroma. Do not add too much. The sheet is very thin. It can't hold too many scallions. Start from one side to lift the sheet. Every time you switch hands to hold it, you create as much pleats as you can. The more folds you have, the flakier the bread is going to be. Circle it around like it's a snake. Tuck the tail under itself. It is hard to roll it at this moment because after all that stretching, the gluten is intense. It will bounce back if you try to flatten it. So we will let it sit for 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, the gluten had enough rest. You can easily roll it bigger without any resistance. The diameter should be about 8 inches across. At this far, some of you might think this recipe is too difficult. I think it's a great chance to challenge yourself during this coronavirus outbreak. Once it's big enough, use the rolling pin to transfer the wrapper to a frying pan and cook it right away. You can also double or triple the recipe, stack them up, put some plastic wrap in between each piece. Freeze them. They will last you a few months. This is actually how Shou Zhua Bing is sold in Asian groceries. If you like to eat it but you don't have the time to make it, check the frozen sections in your local Oriental store. We have made our wrappers. Let's keep them frozen for now. We will talk about the stuff that you can put into the Shou Zhua Bing. There are no rules. Just add your favorite ingredients in it. Deli meat, hot dog, sausage, cheese. You can make it the Western way if you want. This is my choice. Lettuce, tomato, egg, bacon, and marinated chicken tender. Very simple and basic. The chicken tender is my must-have when I get Shou Zhua Bing on the street. So let me show you how to make that. Use paper towels to wipe off the moisture, especially if your chicken tender is previously frozen. If you don't have chicken tender on hand, you can cut up some chicken breast or boneless chicken thigh. Of course, other types of meat such as pork, beef, fish are welcome too. There is a long tendon in the center. Some people like to remove that for better texture. I usually just leave it. Less work, plus I don't think it makes a big difference in this recipe. Grate 2 teaspoons of garlic into a fine paste. Also, grate about 1 teaspoon of ginger. Add this to the chicken along with 1 teaspoon of paprika. It's not spicy, but it gives a nice smokiness and a bright desired color to the meat. You can also add some hot chili powder to spice it up if you want. Let's continue by adding half teaspoon of salt, a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Make sure you sprinkle it here and there to even it out. This will tenderize your chicken in a surprising way. Last but not least, 3 tablespoons of whole milk. It looks like a lot of liquid. You just stir it to incorporate all the seasonings and the spices. The chicken will start to absorb all the milk, which will give you an extra juicy result after it is cooked. You can use fat-free milk if you want, but don't use buttermilk because it will react with the baking soda in this recipe. Cover it, let it sit for 40 minutes. When it is ready, pan fry it with just a little touch of oil. Use medium heat. You want to hear the nice sizzling sound when you place your chicken in. Each side needs about 3 to 5 minutes. Once it is nice and charred, flip and fry the other side. The meat is so small, you just go by the color. If the outside is golden, the inside is cooked for sure. Take them out and set it aside. Next is the bacon. I believe everybody knows how to cook it. Just pan fry it on medium-low heat until both sides are golden. Set it aside. Now you can cook the flatbread and assemble the Shou Zhua Bing. I made these a day ahead. I kept them in the freezer. One mistake that I figured out is that if you use plastic wrap, it's pretty hard to separate them. Suggest using parchment paper in between. It doesn't stick. You don't need to defrost this. Just directly put it in a frying pan with a generous amount of oil. Use medium or medium-low heat. It will defrost right away and you can see it becomes slightly translucent. Give it a flip to cook the other side. What I will do next is to get 2 pairs of chopsticks. Use them to push the flatbread from the side to the center and release it. Turn to a different direction. Repeat that. You just keep doing this for about 10 times. It will fluff up all the layers that we built up before. Take a peek to check the bottom. If you see some light charred spots, flip again to fry the other side. My preference is to cook it until it's slightly charred. The bread is still soft and bendable at this point. If you fry it until it's completely golden, it becomes too crispy and you can't bend it to wrap all the ingredients. Check the bottom again. It looks good. Quickly take it out and quickly crack in 1 egg. Spread it out. Put the bread back in to cover the egg so they can compromise each other. Use your spatula to loosen up the egg and take it out. Flip it onto a serving board. Put some lettuce, tomato slices. Good thing about making Shou Zhua Bing at home is that you can put as much meat as you want. The chicken is so good. Soft, juicy, and flavorful. With the crispy bacon, it's just amazing. For the sauce, I use marinade and sriracha. You can use your favorite sauce. Don't be limited because of me. Lift the other half of the bread and wrap it. Before I take a bite, just want to show you a bit detail of the bread. Look at those layers. It's crispy, flaky, and moist at the same time. The texture like that always gets me excited. When I was in the middle of editing this video, my stomach just starts grumbling. I had to get up and make another Shou Zhua Bing. I hope you're not watching this video with an empty belly. I hope you give this a try soon. If you did, leave me a comment. Let me know how it goes. As always, you can click the link in the description and find the printable recipe. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time. Bye!